Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Helen Noble, celebrant of Surrey and founder of Swan Song. I am here to give you weekly tips and tricks and hints and thought-provoking stuff for all things ceremony. So please like, ring the bell, subscribe, do all those things. Today I'm going to be talking about proposal. Where does it all start when you're wedding planning? Well, it starts with a "Will you marry me?" So, will you marry me? That's massive. Um, and actually, I really want to point out that it starts with the question, will you marry me? And I've got a bit of a bugbear on Instagram or Pinterest when you're looking around and you're Googling and you're getting inspo ideas. There are so many signs and like light up lights that just say, marry me, question mark, please. It's not an order, marry me. And then he's there like with a ring, marry me. And you're like, no, not if you're going to tell me what to do. That's a bit of my character coming out there. If you ask me nicely, you're more likely to get a yes. Will you marry me? Yes. Thanks for asking. Lovely. Why? Now, there's the thing. Why? Again, when you're looking in the Insta world, you see people going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, really, really, really. Hopefully, it shouldn't be such a big surprise. You should be like, well, yeah, of course, duh. Of course I'll marry you. Thanks for asking. But the why is really important. As the person being asked, it's really important to know what their motivation is. As the person asking, you need to have an answer. If they say, yeah, sure, lovely, thanks. Why? You can't just be like, I don't know, because it's the next thing on the list. Or, well, we're grown ups now, we own a house. Shouldn't we just? Because when it comes to proposal and creating your ceremony, the reason is what it is. That's the reason. And it actually stops all the overwhelm when it comes to wedding planning. If you really know your why, if you really know your reason, then actually everything else can come back to that. So if you're like, oh, I quite like vintage, oh, I quite like bespoke, oh, I quite like boho, and you start going down the hole, and you're like, hang on a minute, why are we doing this? We're doing this because we want to be together, because we have a shared interest, because we share the same values, because we want to have a future together, and therefore make sure you're looking at everything that's ceremonial through that lens. If you want to be together and you want to share a life, don't make it all about one person or all about the other person. It is about your togetherness, your relationship, your give and take, your growing together, all of that stuff, which doesn't have to be sloppy romantic, but it does give you a baseline and it does give you an anchor and it stops you getting lost in the overwhelm. That said, and my big point about it's a question, will you marry me? That's the important bit. So, chaps or chapesses, if you're doing the proposing, please, please, please have a think about why you're doing it. Yes, ask yourself the question, but more importantly, give yourself some time to answer that question. I am asking myself questions all the time. Why have you done that? Oh, what's that about? Blah, blah. I've realized I don't actually spend much time answering my own questions. So, biggest tip ahead of a proposal or ahead of wanting to be proposed to, it might be you're in a relationship where the next thing expected is an engagement. And actually, you're thinking, well, why hasn't that happened? Are you sending vibes like, yeah, don't ask me, I'm not going to say yes? Are you sending vibes of you're not there yet? Yes, you'd love to, but you don't feel like a grown up yet? Or, oh no, we can't be old enough. Have a think as to why you're not already engaged and check in with yourself that you're not sending off vibes that are going to plant the seed of doubt in the person proposing. people tend to propose on the assumption you're going to say yes. Because it's a massive leap of faith even if they 10% think they might say no. Put yourself in that position for a moment and think, I'm about to propose that that person spends the rest of their days with me. Would you want to say yes to that? That's a whole nother question. Hopefully, yes. Hopefully, you love yourself enough that you're like, yeah, I'd live with me for the rest of my life. Good. But hopefully, your special person will also want to live with you for the rest of their life. So, if they haven't already asked, just check in with yourself that you're not sending, I might say no vibes, or yeah, not for me vibes. Because if actually deep down you do want to get married and you do want that person in your life forever, you need to make sure you're sending out those vibrations. You know that saying, your vibe attracts your tribe? Your vibe attracts your tribe. That's quite a mouthful. So check in with yourself. And then if you're the one doing the asking, understand the privilege that that leap of faith will hold for that person. Because giving yourself that vulnerability to actually put your heart on a plate with the possibility of rejection is really brave. And I can understand why a lot of people just do it as a rhetorical question. Marry me. You're like, it's not a question. And it's more like a, don't say no because I haven't given the option to say yes or no. It's just an instruction. Marry me. Here's the ring. And I realise that is a defence mechanism from the people that are proposing. But embrace that vulnerability, because courage is really, really attractive. And if someone realizes that you've put your heart on the line and you're there totally exposed, realizing that someone might say, thank you so much, but no. But the fact that you ask means that you're brave enough and you have the courage to sit in that vulnerability, to maybe get down on one knee and ask, will you marry me? And then hope Jesus says yes. And then when they say yes, you're like, oh, good, thank you so much. And I have found over my 10 years, I've completed my 10-year as a celebrant in May. So May 2023, I would have done 10 years as a celebrant. So I honestly know how important the proposal is, because it sets the tone for everything. It also makes wedding vow writing so much easier. So much easier. I can usually tell, not so much now, because as I've grown in the job, I know how to guide my couples more. But at the start, I could definitely tell who did the proposing and who was the proposed to, because the person who did the proposing had obviously put a lot more thought into it. And when it came to writing the vows, they revisited that conversation they'd had with themselves, the question that they'd asked, and the questions that they'd answered. Because remember, you can ask yourself a million questions, but if you don't spend time answering them, you haven't grown or learnt anything. And that their vows are always amazing. It's usually the proposee, the person that went, oh my God, thank you so much, yes, hasn't really thought about it much, has just gone, oh my God, I got proposed to, woohoo, I get to plan a wedding. And then I get them to write their vows, and it's basically a shopping list. I promise to. And I'm like, no. Let's rewind. Let's go back to the intention and the why and the proposal. So today's video was a plea to say, one, think about both sides. Think about the proposing and the proposee. Think about vulnerability. Think about courage. Make sure it's a question. Will you marry me? Because even if there's that slight doubt in that other person's mind, if it's an instruction, marry me, they might kick back with a no, don't tell me what to do. Or they might get a bit of fear, and then it sort of changes because they don't want to say no, because they don't want to upset you because you didn't actually ask them. They just did what they were told, and then it all carries on. And they get halfway down the aisle and then go, I don't actually want to be here. That hasn't happened to any of my couples, just to let you know. Think about that it's a question, vulnerability and courage, and answer the questions you ask yourself. Because if you really know why you're thinking of proposing, and you really know why you want to be proposed to, then it is, promise you, 99.999% a yes. Hope that was good fun. I want to hear all your proposal stories. Bye for now.